walk. Ever since he was a young boy, Gabriel Joseph Keithley wanted to be a police officer in St. Louis, Missouri. Damn, Eric. There we go. During his childhood, he would sit and listen to his great-grandfather and his great-uncle tell stories of working for the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. It was from these stories that Gabriel learned a genuine respect for law enforcement and dreamed one day of living those stories himself. In October 2001, he entered the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Academy, and 7 months later, he achieved his dream of becoming a police officer and was assigned to the city's 8th district. Because of events you'll hear about tonight, the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund named Officer Keithley as Officer of the Month for November 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Officer Gabe Keithley of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department.
Extend you a solemn welcome to the National Peace Officers Memorial Service for 2005. The service is intended to honor those fellow law enforcement professionals who have given their all for this great country, and to let you, the families, know that we will never forget the sacrifice that they have made for us. Winston Churchill said, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." These words, spoken about the sacrifice that so many made during the Second World War, are very appropriate for the 156 officers we honor here today. The life of a police officer is never an easy path for anyone to travel, and when the unexplainable occurs, it's an even harder path for those of us that are left behind to ask the question, why? Last year, after the memorial service, I had the pleasure of meeting a young officer who demonstrates the total commitment that our police officers have towards each other and towards our families and towards the citizens we protect. This officer, Gabe Keithley of the St. Louis Police Department, was here but was recovering from gunshot wounds that had been inflicted on him in January of 2004 in an incident that took the life of his friend and partner, Officer Nick Sloan. Officer Sloan and Keithley were conducting a narcotics operation when, in a struggle with Officer Sloan, the suspect grabbed Nick's weapon and opened fire on both officers. Officer Keithley was shot in the strong arm shoulder and the stomach and went down. Officer Sloan was also shot and went down. Officer Keithley, struggling to switch his weapon to his weak hand, was finally able to stop the attack by shooting the assailant. After hearing this story, I was very touched and very proud to be from the law enforcement family. And it was not just empathy for his loss, it was not empathy for his injuries, but it was his desire to recover, his desire to return to his vocation, and his desire to support the family of his partner, Nick Sloan, that so impressed me about this young man. The spirit of the thin blue line, the spirit of the American hero, and the spirit of a member of our family who exhibited what Prime Minister Churchill said about the brave soldiers. Nick Sloan gave all he could for us, and Gabe Keithley gave all he had that day and every day since to honor his friend's memory. Gabe told me that he had been through the 3 worst things that could ever happen to a police officer. He lost his partner, he got seriously wounded, and he was forced to take a human life. All in a few seconds in one day on the job. Gabe has struggled, he's worked hard, and he's been able to return to work. And Gabe is here with us today somewhere over in this section, and I want to thank him for making me remember why I so love law enforcement. Gabe, if you're there, please stand.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and am honored to have been asked. I'd like first to thank my father, Eric Johnson, Dr. Stephen Wright, members of the board, and all current members of Supporting Heroes who have made this possible. Greater love than this no man has, that he lay his life down for his friend. This verse from the New Testament back in 1959 was an inspiration to a group of St. Louis men and women known as the BackStoppers. Their endeavor was to financially assist the families of public servants who make the ultimate sacrifice. On January 23, 1960, St. Louis lost a fireman, and BackStoppers was put to the test for the very first time. For a widow, time ceases to have meaning, but behind the scenes, the BackStoppers have already swung into action. Within hours, they respond with an immediate check for the widow and further assess her financial needs. Further assistance may include, but is not limited to, mortgage payments, insurance bills, health care statements, student tuition, and even sometimes small credit card debt. The original founders knew if they were going to follow through with their goal, they would have to have the community support. The two co-founders of the BackStoppers were not police or fire related. One was a businessman while the other was a union leader in St. Louis. What they shared was a staunch belief in law and order and respect for the police and firemen. More importantly, they shared the same worry for the families of those who risk their lives on a daily basis. I was able to witness firsthand the positive impact of BackStoppers and what the impact was on my partner, Nick Sloan's family. In a time of shock and overwhelming sorrow, the people of BackStoppers served as guardian angels. At the time of one of these tragic events, monetary concerns should not and cannot exist. By taking away monetary concerns, the families are allowed to focus on the grieving their loss. It gives me great peace knowing that my partner's family has no financial concerns. BackStoppers has helped soften the shock and sorrow of Nick's family's great tragedy. Rich Amberg, one of the co-founders, stated in a letter to potential new members, and I quote, "I think we are about to embark on a great new venture, which holds much hope for St. Louis and will be an inspiration not only to police and firemen, but all our citizens by showing that good people truly care about their public servants." In 1959, Amberg encouraged the BackStoppers of St. Louis, and I stand in front of you in 2006 with the exact same words. You are about to embark on a great venture which holds much hope and which will be an inspiration not only to the first responders, but all of our citizens by showing that good people really, truly do care. This is a very exciting time for the people involved with Supporting Heroes as well as the local community. I think that with your ongoing support, Supporting Heroes can be and will be to Kentucky and Indiana what BackStoppers is to St. Louis. Supporting Heroes' mission statement is to demonstrate to the men and women of police, fire, and EMS that citizens they serve care and appreciate what they do. Should any make the supreme sacrifice in our service, we shall further affirm our care and appreciation by financially supporting the loved ones they leave behind. I'd like to share with you the events leading up to the creation of Supporting Heroes. After witnessing firsthand and becoming part of the police family back in January 2004, my father realized the importance of community support for the families of all officers involved in a tragedy, most importantly, the survivors of the fallen. He was very eager to help out in any way he could and began searching for organizations like BackStoppers in Kentucky. He started by contacting Southeast Christian Church and was eventually put into touch with Eric Johnson. To my dad's surprise, Eric had also heard of BackStoppers and was interested in emulating the organization here in their local community. Because of their enthusiasm and dedication to the noble cause, Supporting Heroes was formed. On September 11, 2004, Supporting Heroes was officially kicked off. Because of these two men, Supporting Heroes is a reality today, and I am very proud and grateful for both. I believe that the events in my life of January 2004 happened for a reason, and the birth of Supporting Heroes is just one of the many bright moments that have shone through during this difficult time. My partner, Nicholas Sloan, was a very generous person, and I know that he would be very, very proud to know that his death was the catalyst for Supporting Heroes. I am honored to know that this living tribute to my partner exists. I would like to encourage you here tonight to share what you have learned about Supporting Heroes with your friends and encourage them to share it with their friends. As you saw in the video, the people don't know yet. They need to know. And as I stated earlier, the only way Supporting Heroes will thrive and be able to maintain its mission is through your undying care and your financial support. This will not work out with you. You are Supporting Heroes. In our line of work as public servants, our number one goal is to come home at the end of every shift. From one public servant to another, I ask you 3 favors. Hug your family, hug your partner, and tell each of them that you love them. You do not know when or if you may be the next to make the ultimate sacrifice. In closing, I keep a little prayer in my car called the Police Officer's Prayer, and I think the last line is very fitting. It says, "Dear God, protect these brave men and women and grant them your almighty protection and unite them safely with their families after their duty ends." Thank you very much for having me, and I hope this goes as well as it looks like it does. Thank you.